Hey everybody, welcome to the 2021 full Blue Abroad draft preview. I've got the POM with me. You would have seen our videos previously, and this was in relation to who may be available with pick 25. Now, POM, that all sounded great until Carltoned everybody and threw a curveball in the mix. We now obviously have a retirement with Liam Jones. So what we're going to do today is look at our options and whatnot. So from your point of view, what do you see playing out now that this has happened?
Well, I mean, it's tough because the AFL have not back any talk of compensation pick, which kind of makes sense to me. I never thought, albeit being fair, they would give us a compensation pick. I didn't think that would be in their mandate. I think it creates a web for them that if there's any unvaccinated players, it may make their decision a lot easier knowing the clubs will be compensated. What it looks like now, Brian Cook's alluded to it, the club has alluded to it, they're requesting to let 62 be used, which currently as it stands, we're committed to using one of them to upgrade our rookies to make the list. So I predict that is what will happen. 62 will come back on the market. The AFL will count the retirement as a promotion for a rookie. I can't see any AFL clubs complaining about that because no one's gained anything. Carlton have fixed the problem themselves, really. And it makes it more streamlined for the AFL to say that's a blanket rule. If the player has to retire, you get access to a pick that you were going to rookie because most of them have been rookie promoted, and we just move on with our lives as if nothing's happened.
So just so I'm clear, we had pick 62, but we were not going to use it because we had already filled the list, having predicted that we're going to use pick 25. After pick 25, we had no more room. So even though we had pick 62, we weren't going to use it. But now we're predicting that we're going to be allowed to use that pick 62.
Yeah, so you effectively burn a pick.
Gotcha.
So imagine it, if you've got a rookie, the way the AFL works to take a rookie onto the senior list is at an expense of one of your picks in the AFL draft. The old rule taking 3 players in the draft now has changed with COVID. That's across all the free agency periods. So for Carlton, effectively 62 and pick 82, I think it was, we would have given to promote Kennedy and Honey. But now, obviously, there's an extra spot and we need to hit our minimum requirement. So we need one of them picks back.
Okay, so what are we going to do?
Well, I mean, first things first, let's finalise on 25. So we gave a lot last week on whom or what may be. So the first one we're going to look at, and this is probably my bookie's choice if you were taking a bet, on Connor Macdonald, 25, pick 25. I think this guy firms up for what Carlton want. He's an inside midfielder that spent time on the outside, strong defensive pressure, exceptionally good ball user, finds the ball. I think for me, if I'm Nick Austin, I'm thinking this guy dots a lot of the I's, crosses a lot of the T's of what I'm looking for, a lot of flexibility. And looking at Nick Austin's picks, he seems to like a kid that's versatile. And this kid here has all the right ticks in all the right places.
Okay. I like his name. So there's that.
Good name. Good name. The next guy we're going to look at is probably, if I was picking it, this would be who I'd go with. So if I was Nick Austin, I've given you who I think Nick Austin's thinking about. I would look at this guy. Suits the modern day AFL, the 190 centimetre winger. We know that Nick Cox at Essendon, they talk about him all the time. That's why Essendon are good. It's a tall wingman now. That is the modern thing. And this kid is dead on what Nick Austin described. Outside player, can play in the tall forward position. He's got decent speed. He's very agile. He's very good, very strong grab in the air. He suits, I think, what Carlton lack, because we don't have any wingmen on our list, really. We have 2. I think, for me, instead of converting someone, we go for it. And Blake House fits the bill, an elite talent. And I think he will be a top player, whoever gets him. He may not reach 25. There is talk other teams are looking at him now. But if he's there, that's who I would be putting all my eggs on.
Yeah, especially with this new tall wingman that's now started to emerge in the comp.
It's the new in vogue thing. It's Carlton like to follow it as well. And the final guy we've got is the legend that is Zac Taylor. Now, I mean, this is he looks like an AFL footballer, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
You like this guy? This is
I
Tony's
like.
pick.
Yeah, there's something I don't know. What I know nothing come this time of year, but when I saw this guy's name and his look, there was just I don't know something about him.
There's always a guy that bursts out of the AFL in your last year. And bearing in mind, these poor blokes have played next to no football in Victoria. In the 7 games that I've played, this is a guy that has literally jumped. So he's got everything you really want. He's skillful, he's quick, he's evasive. He's effectively Lockie O'Brien, really. He's effectively Lockie O'Brien, which might put some people off. But we've never seen Lockie O'Brien play an actual wingman's role. This guy is a pure out-and-out winger with the option to play in the small forward because he finds the goals really well as well. He's a crafty type little player. Good defensive pressure as well. He's got everything that you look for in the modern day. And he's got the engine, which is important. He's already built that tank. So he's ready to go. He's ready to play on the wing in an AFL list. So definitely someone that I would say that Nick Austin would have the eye on.
Okay. I'm going to be keeping a close eye on him.
Well, he looks like it, and that's half the battle. You've got to look the part.
Yeah. So those are the three that you've condensed out of what we spoke about last time. You've condensed it into those 3. You think they should hopefully be available at 25, and we just pick up one of those 3.
Yeah, and you'll notice that there's a theme there. Not one of them is a tall defender. Now, I know we've got Rep Bazzo, who we talked about almost at the bye. It was a long time ago.
Yeah.
I just don't think Carlton are going to bite the bullet on a defender. I think they are going to bat the list in. And I think if I was Nick Austin, I'd look at draft next year and say, we've probably got the cattle to cover 1 year of a key defender.
Yep.
Let's go when we've got the talent that we know is ready, because there isn't really a like for like in this draft that we could take who is ready to go. So I think
that's the thing as well. That's the thing as well. Like at pick 25, is there a guy that can play round 1 next year as the centre half back? That's the question, which you wouldn't have thought so, right?
No, like Bazzo maybe could play the ploughman role, but ploughman's not who we're replacing. Do you know what I mean? We need a tall. And having any of the 18, 19, 20-year-olds, I know Charlie Dean's been mentioned a few times, he's still an unknown, and that's a huge risk. At the moment, they have got Lewis Young. They will put time into Caleb Marchbank, and I think they'll back themselves that worst-case scenario, Lewis Young gets injured, Kent, McGovern, and Ploughman between them can fill that void in spurts, as we've seen in the AFL. That they're not micro small for some of the players that have played the key position. So I will back that list in. I would back it in.
Okay. So what happens with these next names? What are you seeing with them?
So these are guys that are going to be there in and around who may have just a little bit of upside that Carlton may take. So the first one we've got is Miller Bergman from
just to go back one step. These are guys for pick 62.
Yeah, pick 62. So The second pick, if Carlton have maybe an early access as well, they may look at them as well. But we'll go on the assumption that the AFL do the right thing. And he's a medium utility, so he can play pretty much anywhere down the back and also across the wing. But he's also been thrown into the forward line. So imagine someone like Levi Casbolt, who's 188. He can play pretty much anywhere. So again, this is a great pickup for Carlton in the terms of 62 genuinely don't make the grade, but Carlton have got some really good upside with this kid already to find a hole and say, right, this is your gig. And I think he would be the perfect little wingman. He's very strong. He's got a really booming kick, and it's a nice, low, flat kick. Very good in the air, very competitive. And he's got all the skills that if you look for a player, you'd fancy him, because his technique at kicking is elite. So that's the hard bit done. The rest is just literally coaching. And we've got 4 development coaches now as the senior coaches in the lines. So building this kid should be fairly easy.
Okay. Who's next?
Next, we've got probably the coolest looking kid in the AFL draft. Like if I was picking a guy just purely because he looks like he'd be a crack on the veers, Paul wins it. But Paul is the IKEA Eddie Betts, we'll call him. We'll call him the IKEA Eddie Betts. Now, the reason I picked this guy is he's a Western Jets boy, and we know Carlton love looking at the Western Jets, and we know that they've got a good affinity with them. And he's a natural small forward who has got all the things you look at that we build. So a couple of years ago, we guessed Josh Honey. Same logic with this kid. He's got that's something that you can't teach. And he's got that natural ability to make magic happen. He's very clever. He's team first, which is really important. But what he's good is his ability to crumb is next level. He is a solid crumbing forward. And he isn't scared of laying the hard tackles and doing his defensive work. And he's got the speed. So if I'm looking at it, this is someone that probably we don't have in the forward line. If Carlton look at their forward line, they don't have a natural Eddie Betts. Not many clubs do. This is a guy that's the slow burn, though. Carlton could say, you know what? These skills are handy in today's game. And often these later picks, it's these type of guys that can make the grade very quickly because he's got the skills.
Okay, so he's got that super X factor about him that if you can nurture it and find consistency with it, you've got yourself a really good player.
Yeah, spot on. And he's someone that naturally isn't afraid of tackling as well. So he's got that dirt and hunger to get dirty, but he's also got that silk and gloss. And he's someone that you can hide in the forward pocket and even today could probably make an impact because he's got the skills that you can't teach.
Okay, I like it. Next up.
Next one, who sounds like he was probably an extra in Jackass, Corey Preston, but very talented player. And again, another medium utility. I've looked at, this is a new role in the AFL. Everyone talks about swingmans, the big tall guys. Now the guys that are niche are them medium-sized guys and smaller guys that can play across all three lines. And he's another one. Eastern Ranges guy, plays across the small forward line and on the outside of the midfield. But he's also played as a real strong, kind of like a Tafe, Adam Sard type, looking to rebound and get the ball breaking from halfback. And he's a man for all places, and he's got all that football IQ. He makes the decisions. He's very strong. He uses his small frame as well, exceptionally well on the bigger bodies. Kind of a little bit like we saw last year Stocker do. Be outgunned height-wise, but if you know how to use your body and you're wise, you've got it. And this kid's got that. And I think this is someone, again, Carlton would look at and go, wingman. Okay. And he's a smaller wingman as well, 181. So he's got a real good turn of pace. So that could be something that Carlton look at, knowing he's an exceptionally good user with the ball in hand.
Is this a situation where because he's not a specialist in one area of the field, that's maybe why he slips a little bit, because he's good in three areas, but he's not great in one?
Yeah, we see a lot of this in the AFL, that when you're a kind of a half and half, like, what are you? It does put the AFL clubs off. And particularly this year, we've got a great benefit. And this is where Nick Austin, I've said I'm excited about him because he's got a plan. That's why I think it's Connor Macdonald, a guy that I think would go 35 in a normal draft. I think that's the guy, though. I think that's the guy. And I think he'll look post 30. You don't know because the Victorians haven't played, but they make up so much of the draft. And Carlton are in a fortunate position to have quite a good scouting network. So I think they'll take the advantage of what the interstate clubs don't know. And Corey Preston, again, is another guy that I think just fits what Carlton need, but he's got enough of the pluses that say to us, well, you know what? He's got the hard bits done, the kicking efficiency. That's the hard natural skill. We can add the rest. And he's one of these guys that is an exciting project.
Yep. Okay. Next up.
And the last one, I really like this kid. And everyone who's watching this will like this. An actual natural winger. A guy who's never played any other position. This has been his bread and butter since he was a wee baby.
Sign him up.
Yeah, exactly. And he comes from Oakley Chargers, but he's also played for the VFL squad at Richmond. Now, Richmond may have a sniff on him, but given where the picks are and what they look for, I don't think they'll get him. I don't think they'll take him. So he comes from the Richmond VFL team, who, let's be honest, in recent seasons, they've been as good as an AFL side. They're very well oiled. They're a very, very good side. And his performances at state level have been really impressive. He's got all the skills of a modern-day wingman. And he's got a lot, in my opinion, of Karl Worner about him. Mm-hmm. The fact that he doesn't get crowded to go and look for the ball. And that's the hard thing with modern-day wingmen. It's the hard thing teaching fans. If you look at Lockie O'Brien, he doesn't have 30 touches. He's crucified. But few ruckmen get over the 20 mark, and he's not bothered by that. You can tell he just keeps running them patterns on the wing, making himself available, and that is something that I would be looking for as a list manager, because I think sometimes they get crowded by them numbers and they go looking for the ball. But you look at your Ed Langdons, you look at your Amons, you look at your Isaac Smiths, these guys can have 15 touches a game and be happy with that because they do their job and they turn up. And he does that. Yeah, well, that's what you want. You just want them to be running, and eventually the ball will find them. And Karl doesn't get lost in that avenue of, I need to go and find the ball. He's happy to do that. And I think he could be a little smoky in this draft because he's coming from such a good VFL program.
I like it. I like the idea of that.
You know, start stealing people, AFL. Stop being nice. Steal Karl.
All right. So who are these next three that we've got here? And what's their situation?
Well, these next ones are more of what we call the speculative. So the first guy we're going to look at, and this may shock someone because, believe it or not, he's 22.
Wow.
rough paper round in Southport for Brayden.
We're talking about a cult hero ready to go.
Oh, mate. Now, I think if Carlton do maybe get late picks, maybe get early access after the draft to list someone, they may look at this guy. Now, Brayden's played for Southport, and if anyone's been watching the VFL in its littleness, he has been super strong. He's a former Gold Coast player, and he's a ruck forward, 199. Now, why I choose this guy is maybe Austin has already said that they were looking at rucks. They're aware of the ruck situation, but the list space wasn't there. Now, I always think Nick Austin tells me stuff, but he does it like kind of Blues Clues. He doesn't give me the answer. Gives me the clue, though, and says, Pom, work out what I'm up to. I think maybe, and there's stupider ideas out there, that he might look as a ruckman and think, well, you know what? 22, big body, played with AFL ruckman. He knows the game and he's super fit. He's a stopgap for a year. Until we can go and find an extra ruckman to give us the security. And I think this is where we need the security still. Not key defender, it's ruck. And this kid, well, he is a kid. He's 22, even though he looks older than me. He's got it. He's got it. No offense, Brayden, if you become a Carlton player. But he's got the skills. He's a big body and he loves the competition.
Okay, I'm very intrigued with this one.
And we're going to love him, aren't we? Like, look at him. Like, whatever Guernsey number
he's a man-child.
Whatever Guernsey number he gets, I'm getting. Like, I'll say that now.
You just know it's going to have a 7 as a second number.
I'm adopting him as my new favourite if he signs. I love the guy.
I'm impressed.
He's the first one we're looking at, and I promise you, he is 22.
Okay. Who's next?
The next one we're looking at is a really exciting talent, and we're going back on the theory of let's look for a small forward who can play in that kind of outside midfield, play across the ground. That's Bailey Lambert, plays for Frankston Dolphins, and this guy really, last year in the mid-year draft before he got injured, was many people's choice for like pick one. They were like, get this guy, he's talented, he's got the skills. He's going to kill it. He's a goal-kicking machine. He is the son, incidentally, of a Richmond and Brisbane star, Craig Lambert. So he will be familiar to Vossi in the terms of that. And his goal kicking now is phenomenal. 11 goals last year, 14 disposals in his first 3 games.
Wow.
Like, he knows where the goals are. And if you watch how Frankston play, he libs off the feet of his toes. So he's got the 2 best toes in the league at Carlton. They're a lot better than the Frankston ones. But also what impresses me is his average running time as well. He runs to the halfway to chase his man. Defence is his first. And you hear Voss say he wants a total buy-in on a powerful brand of football. Bailey is of that Brisbane mould he's used to. He doesn't give up. He chases you until he wins the ball back. So he would be something new that I don't think we have.
Okay. And where'd you find this photo? Because it doesn't look like a footy photo. Did you go on his Instagram?
I did steal this off Facebook, yeah. So if you're watching, Bailey.
Very, very snazzy. I like your work.
Pom's always watching.
And there's one more here.
Yeah, there is. There's one more. And the last guy we're going to look at he's got a great Italian name, even though he looks about as Italian as me. Noah Pegoraro. I probably massacred it.
No, you actually did very well with that, Pegoraro.
I'm getting it, do you know what I mean? The tan's in the post. But this guy, again, could be what Carlton looked for. Now, I know a lot of the key defenders that we're being linked with are Charlie Deans and players like that. But this kid is 24. So he's a bit older than the guys we're being linked with. Plays for West Perth, who are one of the top sides in the waffle. And we're looking for, I always think the people we're described as looking at as the replacements from the AFL media are players that aren't what Liam Jones is. Liam Jones isn't a lockdown defender. Liam Jones is a loose intercept defender, and that's his skill. This is what Noah does. And Noah is really exciting in the terms of, if you look at Tom Stewart's trajectory, real top level young player, then around that 16 to 18 mark, kind of stagnated. And we can guess why that is. But I think Pom at 16, girls, beer, friends, it's hard to be committed. But then he went away to his state football and he's really, really taken the game by storm. And what is impressive is his intercept possession, 7.8 a game. So you're looking at their Liam Jones's numbers. This is what this guy does. He's invariably on the tallest guy and he's looking to attack that ball. A massive vertical leap as well. Massive running vertical leap, 92 centimetres. That is a lot.
That's huge.
That's huge. And he's 194 himself. So if you combine them two, that's why Stephen May can play on people like Max King, because his running vertical leap is ridiculous. So even though he's the same size as Brodie Kemp, being 200 centimetres, this guy jumps that when he sneezes. And he's got the skills. And because he's playing in the waffle, underrated competition, the waffle, it is super hard, super strong, super competitive. It's almost, I would say, of the state leagues, it's the closest to the AFL in tenacity. And I think he suits it. And if Carlton are looking at a key defender, probably deserves his chance because I think he's ready to go. I think he's the only one I've seen, and that's why I've avoided the key defender, who I would trust round one going against Tom Lynch. And I'd say this kid wouldn't be fazed by it because he's played bigger players.
Yeah, and that goes back to your point before about using a pick 25 or even a pick 62. You're probably not going to get someone that's playing round one. Whereas you're saying this guy here, you think he turned the corner in 2021.
Yeah, I think his last 2 years in Waffle have shown that this kid has gone away and he's worked, and they are huge. You're talking huge improvements. Under 10 touches in 2020, over 18 in 2021,
Wow.
3 marks a game, 6 marks the year after. There is a huge application, and the feedback from Perth is this kid is first at training, last to leave. And that suits the ethos of what Cookie's talking about and Voss. And I think working with Wheater, a man who's like that, who's about, you know what, we're here to work, I wouldn't be scared of this guy playing AFL football very early on because he's got the body, he's got the brain, he's got the proof. I'd trust him to do it.
I love it. Well, there you go, ladies and gents. That is the full preview for 2021. It's very interesting because of the situation that has now unfolded with the retirement of Liam Jones. But as always, I mean, we just got to move on. And, you know, where we weep somewhere, we benefit elsewhere. So, Pom, thanks very much first of all, for everything you do when it comes to this time of year. I know that this is your Christmas time. I like to take a step back. So appreciate you and what you do for us this time of year. And I can't wait to see who we bring to the club. And I hope that, I'm pretty confident it's going to be one of these people that you've mentioned. So we'll see how we go.
I look forward to it. Can't wait.
All right. Let us know what you thought in the comments below.